What is going on, guys? I am your host, Dan the Man. It is Wednesday night, and you know what that means. We have another great episode of the AEW Dynamite review show here on Unpopular Review. I am with my co-hosts. To my right, it is the great Vincent Laspada. Let me be frank. What's going on, man?
Not just getting over I wouldn't say a jam-packed Dynamite, but I think last week's episode was a little bit better.
I got you. I got you. And down underneath us, we have our other co-host. He is Evil Dose. What is happening?
Show me the money. But instead, we got a virtuoso. A virtuosa.
I hear you. I hear you. I have a lot to unpack in this show because we just had a jam-packed weekend with one of the biggest events of the year, AEW World's End. I have a lot to discuss about this as well as review Dynamite here. I'm sure we all have some strong opinions about the last few days for AEW, and some good, some not so good. And I think we just need to let it rip here. I think we need to let it rip. I just want to go quickly over a little bit of, a brief couple minutes just to open the show with World's End. What did you guys think of the show?
Didn't care for it. I thought it was a pretty weak effort. 0 Hour was. I thought that the women's match, I know some people thought it was really good. I thought it was not so good. I don't think it was terrible. I just didn't think it was very good. I think Willow is far and away much better than Chris Statlander. The Battle Royal was horrendous. It not only was poorly executed, but it was poorly populated. They have 900 rosters full of wrestlers, and they managed to fill it with several people not even under AEW contract, like Rocky Romero, who doesn't work for them, the Butcher and the Blade, who recently had their contracts expire. Of course, Lance Archer had to show up for his biannual, make a lot of noise, do a lot of nothing spot. And I've been told this guy works for Ring of Honor, but so what? That's not AEW, and we've barely seen him until recently. A lot of him, and that's the bounty hunter Brian Keith. Nothing personal, but if you're giving me a battle royal and you're not telling me who's in it for a TNT title shot, then you better populate it with interesting people. Of course, if they told us who was in it, we all would have figured out who the winner is, and we would have figured out correctly what was going to happen with the TNT title match.
Right.
Once you saw 0 Hour, you knew what was going to happen there. Right. And I really, I almost fell asleep during Hook, Wheeler Yuta. As far as the card itself, I'm not going to go through every match.
No.
I, like everyone else, was probably a bit surprised that Samoa Joe won, but I wasn't shocked because of MJF's injury status.
Right.
And they've been doing a pretty good job of hiding how serious it is. And, I violated my own rule with injuries in AEW. When in doubt, that the injury is worse than they let on, as opposed to the opposite. Some people were disappointed with the Devil reveal. I'm not one of those people. It was going way too long. Whatever the reveal was at a certain point, it was probably already past being underwhelming.
Right.
This is the reveal that made sense. This is the constitution of that squad that it always felt like it was going to be, that it always looked like that this is what made sense. And so if it went too long, at least you didn't get something stupid or forced or something like Mustafa Ali or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not upset when there's not big debuts. I think AEW has way too many rosters as it is, and they don't need another person. They need to get rid of some clutter so they can focus on stories and put the gas behind some wrestlers. So I was not upset that there was no Nick Namath, Mustafa Ali, or Rick Boogs, or anything of that, anyone like that. But overall, I thought the show was underwhelming, and it seems like the internet agrees. Even AEW's most hard-fast fans are rating this as AEW's worst pay-per-view of the year.
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
But they say they're all really good, except this was the
Right.
least of the good.
Right.
What that's okay. And but I've been going on a long time. Those were the important things. The
Right.
team match, the world title. I mean, the Kingston thing. I remember 2 weeks ago was my first show with you guys when one of you was thinking it was going to be Swerve, one of you was Jay White. I'm like, it's nothing to do with any of them. It's going to be Brian or Eddie Kingston, the underdog story. And sure enough, was. They finally told the story they were trying to tell tonight in Kingston's vignette. Should have been told before, but anyway, so there it is. It's a long way of saying that I thought it was mid.
I think mid is a polite way to say this, because I mean, I'm a huge AEW fan. I like the product. I like how it is, the second largest company for pro wrestling in the world, and you are supposed to be a real professional type of wrestling promotion, and with some hints of indie wrestling. And I think there's a lot of AEW that I like because of that, and it's a good alternative. And to me, they've never put on a bad pay-per-view, and that's something I could always hang my hat on as a fan and say, hey, you know what, even though some things maybe weren't the greatest for this, and some of the builds, some of the matches, I can always expect a good show. And I'll even say I was super critical of All Out, because it was a week after All In, and I just felt it just was a thrown together show, no point, a lot of BS. And I'll tell you, that pay-per-view was magnificent compared to the steaming pile of shit that AEW just fed me on Saturday. And I am befuddled. I don't understand why they thought this was a good idea to march out this and to say World's End was great, because it wasn't. There was nothing great about it. It had so much potential. They were doing so many things right for this. They were announcing matches in advance. They put some build. They did a lot of good things. And then they gave me a huge pile of letdown bullshit. And I don't understand why they thought this was a good idea. Why they thought the match order was a good idea. Why would you? They didn't pace the show at all. They put complete garbage all in the beginning of the card, and the three matches that were the big draws, you literally did back to back to back. Who the hell does that? That was the most ridiculous thing. And I mean, I was even trying to talk myself into, hey, they're trying to go for a different vibe now. They're trying to go more for production. They're trying to go more for professionalism. They're trying to almost WWE this. And then I just remember sitting there, and I'm right in watching the Julia Hart Abaddon match. And I'm like, hey, I haven't seen any botches. And then what do? I see a botch. I see a ridiculous moonsault that doesn't even connect. And then they claim, oh, this is the finisher. This is your finish. Are you kidding me? She Charlotte flared. She Charlotte flared and did nothing. Hit nothing. Didn't even have the wherewithal to redo it. I mean, do something. Do something. You fed me bullshit. You fed me crap. I and I paid $50 for it because I believe in supporting the product. I'm disappointed. I want my money back. I watched Eddie Kingston almost concuss himself doing a suicide dive. I watched Adam Copeland and Nick Wayne. Nick Wayne almost went through some sort of table that was on fire. They couldn't even keep the table on fire. Nick Wayne almost killed himself by hitting his head down on the floor, missing the table completely. It just turned into a botch fest totally at the end.
Are you ready?
What?
Are you ready? You want to hear my opinion?
Let's get ready to suck it. Yeah.
All right. Let me be frank. Let me just clear the airwaves, okay, real quick. First off, with your comment, Evil Dose, about the Devil storyline, that was not anything more. I think that was just perfect enough that the bullshit WWE feeds you with the Bloodline and Roman Reigns and Jimmy Uso and all that bullshit that they do. Because I'm going to tell you what right now, that over there is a steaming pile of dog shit. Okay, anything that WWE feeds you right now is a steaming pile of dog shit.
It
Okay,
is.
I don't give a shit what anybody has to fucking say. They do not have anything against WWE or AEW. Okay, now AEW's World's End wasn't the greatest, but I'm gonna tell you what. You didn't talk about Dustin Runnels and Swerve Strickland because Swerve Strickland puts on a hell of a match. He just did one just a minute ago. He puts on a hell of a match. Okay, there always are going to be botches. There's always going to be miscard plations and things like that. But at the end of the day, there's nothing that WWE puts on that could compare to what AEW gives you. Okay, WWE gives you a steaming pile of dog shit. Okay, they fuck wrestlers. They bring wrestlers back. They promise them the world. They don't give them shit. There's nothing that WWE can do that can top what AEW does every fucking week. Oh, you bring the Rock back. Okay, you bring him back. He brings a challenge out. Then you cut him a promo against Jinder Mahal, one of the fucking worst WWE champions of all time, on there. Okay. I'd rather seen a bucket of paint in the middle of the damn fucking ring and had him paint all down the side of the turnbuckles than watch that piece of shit. So what I'm going to say to you is I think the Eddie Kingston match and John Moxley was I wouldn't say terrific, but I'm going to say it was. I think it was not a bad match. I think MJF at the end. I think he knew that was going to be his final match for a while, so I think he went a little light. So yeah, I'm going to tell you that match was a little light. But I don't think the card was horrible. It wasn't the worst pay-per-view. I mean, you sit there and say, I want my $50 back. Shit. How many times can I count my hands and toes of how the money I fucking spend on Peacock to watch the bullshit they give us at WWE? I want all my money back for the last 4 years of what they've given us. Nothing but shit. Go on.
If Peacock didn't give me other material besides WWE, I might feel the same way. But $10 a month versus the $50 that I spend probably on the 5 or 6 pay-per-views a year, it's a major difference.
It was a major difference. And I obviously don't agree with everything that he said and probably disagree with most of it, but it's not particularly important because his opinion is his and it's valid. But I don't know what has to. I don't know why feeling the WWE stinks means if AEW puts something on that stinks that it's okay. I mean, there's plenty of room to criticize both or love both if you want to, but I don't see what one thing has to do with the other. Though I will say most of the world that follows wrestling doesn't agree with most of those things. But again, like I said, it doesn't matter. Your opinion is your own and it's valid.
Right. And I mean, I just wanted to touch base on.
Is that coming from a WWE fan? Are you a WWE fan?
I think we're all pro wrestling fans.
Yeah, of course, I'm a WWE fan. I mean, WWE has been in my life since I'm 6 or 7 years old, which is longer than you've been alive, maybe twice.
But you have to understand, WWE now compared to when you were a youngster, now it's going to fucking suck. And I'm going to tell you why it's going to fucking suck.
Well, let me tell you why you're wrong. Because
I'm wrong.
When
tell me why I'm wrong. Tell me why a multi-billion-dollar company that's partnered with UFC is going to fucking destroy WWE. Tell me.
Partnered with UFC. They have the same parent company. Those are different things. Secondly, tell me why you're wrong. Because you could pay to go to a live event show and you might see Jose Mattia or Israel Mattia versus SD Jones, followed by Iron Mike Sharp versus Moondog Spot.
What the fuck are you talking about?
You'd go to the card and you would get Superfly Jimmy Snuka supposed to be wrestling the spoiler who doesn't show up. So instead, then you'd see the Big John Studd $10,000 challenge. And that's what I'm talking about. These are cards I've went to. You would get Superfly CV Afi instead when they're trying to tell you it's Superfly Snuka. So, I mean, no, when I was growing up, WWE wasn't better. And 10 years later, it wasn't either. You get Hacksaw Jim Duggan running around going, ho, kill myself. Tito Santana Arriba, just, terrible.
You think those characters are terrible?
Yes.
You think Hacksaw Jim Duggan was terrible?
Yes.
I bet you think that Jake the Snake Roberts was fucking much better.
He was much better.
Oh,
and
Jesus
you know who
Christ.
else was much better?
Hacksaw
Jim
TV.
Duggan was much better when he was in UWF as a bad guy.
not as much as he was a fucking drunk. You tell me what he did for this business with completely nothing but shit. The only thing he did for this business was put fucking Macho Man Randy Savage in that spot on the biggest fucking thing of his career, okay?
Okay. Austin 316 was because of Jake the Snake Roberts.
No.
The best was Ravishing
anybody.
Rick Rude and Jake Roberts, one of the best feuds of all time. And the Snake scaring Andre. Come on. That's more right there than
Okay.
than
If he was so great, why didn't he have a champion? He was so great. Why did it take
because wrestling fans
45 years to put the guy in the fucking Hall of
they
Fame?
knew championships were props,
Oh,
and that's not
come on,
what made
bro.
you a great wrestler.
All right, guys, we're going to rein this in here. We're going to rein this in because we have to get to what actually tonight is about. We have to get to Dynamite. So now I actually thought tonight's episode was actually pretty solid. The card and the build looked kind of mid, but I think there were some things that they did that reset a little bit and are actually kind of delivered to some extent. Now, the show starts off. We're getting Samoa Joe cutting a defiant promo against MJF. He's a new champion, basically laying the gauntlet down for everybody. And I mean, I'll just be honest. I'm not the biggest fan of Samoa Joe as your marquee world champion. I think he's a little older. I don't think he's as well known. I think he's a fantastic holdover, but I don't see how you would have Samoa Joe as your long-term champion. I mean, do you guys see Samoa
These people
Oh,
are
Joe?
high on the fucking Texas over here.
I thought I thought this was the best first 18 minutes of Dynamite in a long time.
Yeah.
Samoa Joe, his promo was perfect.
Yep.
He sounded like he was winded. I don't know if that was for effect or if he actually was winded because they recorded it after the match. And if he was still that winded after recording it, then there is something to be concerned about. I don't think he's going to be a long-term champion. I think he's going to be a transitional champion. I think they're trying to figure out when Adam Cole can come back, when MJF can come back, if they want to pull the trigger on someone like a Swerve or someone else. I think Samoa Joe is a perfectly good. Everyone respects Samoa Joe. He's won every championship except for the big one. This is This is close enough for people to pretend it's the big one. He makes things make sense, and he sounded like a badass. And he's like, and he explained why he betrayed MJF. He didn't. MJF cheated to get the title off of him. He screwed him out of it, and he came up with any way he could to screw MJF right back out of the title. And perfect. Transitioned into the devil thing. They started with the boom music, and I'm like, oh no, they're going to play his face music, and it's going to do Adam Cole. But nope, they switched it to the new devil music. They gave new heel music. Smart. AEW 4 months ago wouldn't have done that.
Yeah, no, I mean, and don't get me wrong, I love Adam Cole's music and everything, but we're getting a different side of Adam Cole here. We're getting the Kingdom, which is, more of the original Undisputed era. And this is going to be a very different sort of indie Ring of Honor style of Adam Cole that we're going to be seeing here. And
the reset Disco Inferno demanded.
Definitely the reset Inferno demanded, which who really gives a shit what that guy thinks anyways.
But I don't mind his insights, but I think he was right. I think AEW needs to do a reset, and the only reset they can do easily is go back to their roots. Yep. And I think that's what they're trying to do. I know it sounds weird with a 44-year-old Samoa Joe at the reins, but he is sort of king of the indies and has been for 22 years. So, I don't, it has much more of a Ring of Honor gritty feel, or at least the first, everyone knows I don't like Orange Cassidy very much, and I'm not, and I'm never going to love Dante Martin, but the first 45 minutes of the show had a very Ring of Honor feel to it, as opposed to we're trying to be WWE light feel to it. And that's what they need to do to get back to being different. Whether someone like me likes all of it or not doesn't matter, because really their audience is more like you guys and what you want to see. And I just have to do what Jamie the Vet Williams does, and I have to treat it a la carte. What I like, what I don't like. I've got a rumor, and I can talk about it on this show and others. but I think this going back to the roots is more of what the AEW fans originally expected.
You really think that the AEW fans want to see Samoa Joe at 45 as the champion?
Yes. They yelled, Joe was going to kill you. They were smart to not have Joe come out because people would be chanting with him and for him. They don't boo him. That was the big mistake of Ward Joe. You can't make Wardlow the sympathetic
44, sorry.
with Joe because people love frickin' Joe.
No, you know what? You listen. No. Everybody, here's a problem with pro wrestling fans. They cannot let go of what is old. And that's why they like Joe. Because Joe has been around for a while. Just like when WWE and everybody else goes back to the fucking well, like Joe, they make him champion. They have about 10 other people in line that should have been champion for Samoa Joe. I'm going to tell you that right now. But they pulled the trigger on Samoa Joe because Samoa Joe was in the storyline. That's why they did it. Yeah, he's over. The crowd loves him.
But he's safe.
Do I think he's champion material? No. Just like he wasn't champion material in WWE. They didn't give a crap about him in WWE.
Well, I feel the same way about Eddie Kingston not being championship material, but AEW fans are behind him, and I understand why they are, and I understand why he's got that appeal, and it works for this company. Samoa Joe does. I mean, they're sort of cut from the same cloth, except that Samoa Joe is had much more success on the indies. Eddie was always a marginal player. Samoa Joe was always, one of the biggest fish in the smaller ponds.
Well, I think that was a slap in the face to Jon Moxley that made Eddie Kingston champion, because I honestly think Jon Moxley's a way better wrestler.
Is that the fresh new thing you're advocating for? He's like a 3-time champion, and the first WWE retread that they took, it wasn't named Chris Jericho, another old guy, your first champion.
Yeah. Moxley has been shoved down our throat a lot. And don't get me wrong, he is probably the most well-known, biggest star in the company right now, arguably him and Jericho are the most well-known stars in AEW. I mean, obviously you could put MJF right up there, but I don't know that MJF is a household name. Like if you were to stop somebody down on the street, they're going to know who a Dean Ambrose, Jon Moxley is probably more than an MJF.
Yeah, but Kingston can't wrestle, bro.
Well, we're not talking about Eddie Kingston.
Honestly, the one that most people would know if you said Goldust or Big Show.
Yeah,
those would be the ones that you know, and that's just. I mean,
you could say Adam Copeland, Edge would be up there, but no one's going to really know Adam Copeland. Sasha Banks, maybe not. Who knows if it's going to happen? Mercedes Moné.
I do. Not coming to AEW. She'll be at the Rumble.
You really think so?
I don't think so. I know so.
Okay. All right. We heard a spoiler.
Why would they make that mistake the second time?
Who?
Why would they make that mistake?
I don't think it's a mistake.
It's not a mistake. She's a great wrestler.
What's a mistake about?
You say it's not a mistake, but they're also talking about bringing Trinity back. But here's my thing. If it wasn't a mistake, why'd you get rid of him the first time?
Because it's a new ownership and a new management. Vince is gone. Vince was their problem. They wanted to make the women's tag team titles relevant and important again, and Triple H is trying to do that. So, but all of her friends are there. Bayley's there. Trinity's coming back. I mean, she's going to make the big money. She only had a bit part in The Mandalorian. That's not going to go forever. And she wants to become a real star. And to become a real star, you need to be on the platform to get you to a real star. And a company, since you like partnerships just because of conjoining of ownership, Endeavor, the biggest talent agency in the world, owns WWE, which could help Miss Sasha Banks, under whatever name she chooses, get to that next level and have a real nice life in show business that for decades past wrestling.
But and Jeff brings up a good point. AEW will be in Boston next next week for Collision, I believe, right?
Collision is Saturday in Charlotte.
Charlotte, the following week, I believe. Collision,
perhaps.
So I mean, it's a possibility. It's a possibility. Collision does need a big star. You could center Collision around Mercedes Moné. I think that would be a fantastic thing if they did it. I think if Mercedes is coming to AEW, I would expect it to be in Boston. If she is not in Boston, then I do believe it is a extremely safe bet to say WWE is completely there.
Well, really,
Austin,
listen,
you're on the clock.
she should have showed up at World's End. Is what she should have done.
And done what? And against who?
What do you mean? I mean, here's my question.
What was her moment to show up?
Okay, okay. So let me ask you this question: if CM Punk wasn't making an appearance in Chicago, and if it wasn't Survivor Series in Chicago, if he showed up, wouldn't it be just a big pop because he's showing up?
Wouldn't be the same, but it would still be a big pop.
Okay, so I don't think Monet needs a place at a time. She could show up in that place and go nuts. Simple as that.
Well, and I mean, also, they are going to be in Jacksonville next week for Dynamite, and Jacksonville's always kind of this nostalgic kind of, this is the home of AEW, and I think if you're going to do something good and crazy, Daly's Place is the spot to do it, because Daly's Place was really the whole start for AEW. It's what carried us through the pandemic, which I thought, to be completely 100% honest with you, AEW during the pandemic was the best pro wrestling in my opinion, just from their presentation style.
Well, they gave you a whole different feel. You had the wrestlers in the audience.
Right.
They were doing little gimmicks. Sean Spears and MJF were gambling and playing cards. That was sort of the beginnings of the Pinnacle. And then they had limited numbers of crowds in. They tried to do the Matt Hardy broker thing. But, I mean, we've been on for 27 minutes and we haven't even really gotten to the second segment.
We really haven't. We really haven't. And one thing I do want to just kind of briefly go to before we go to a commercial break is when Adam Cole did his promo, didn't he make some kind of comment or suggestion that Wardlow was going to be doing a lot of the bidding?
Yes, I mean, they're running the same story with Christian and Luchasaurus, but let me just say this once to get out of the way. Adam Cole is very, very small and has been injury prone. Done. I'm not going to say it again.
Right.
He was the right reveal. This is the right crew. And in his promo, everything he said was absolutely true. I am not interested, but Wardlow being the flunky again is already the criticism that's happening, and they're leaning all the way into it. I don't mind it so much as in the Bodyguard, but them doing the same story on the same show with Christian and Killswitch, and now trying to do with Adam Cole and Wardlow, it's just lazy.
It's redundant. Absolutely, I totally agree with that. We're going to cut to a quick commercial break here, and we will be back in just about a minute.
Now I'm jealous.
I am too.
They haven't updated who the 2023 winner is. Now I'm trying to find which it was exactly where they showed who the winner was.
That is wild because there was definitely a winner. But I think it's, I don't know. I'm going to look it up too.
I don't know. Just because I don't think, I don't know. Maybe it was that long ago. Anyway, the thing I don't like about the Dusty Classic right now is that they're building teams now. Usually there's a whole bunch of teams. So, I mean, but tonight we saw Baron Corbin approach Bron Breakker. I mean, that's sort of interesting-ish. Axiom and Nathan Frazier. They've had a friendship.
That would work as a team.
I wanted them to tag. I've wanted them to tag since they're both past.
But they haven't been a tag team up until this moment. And now you're putting Riley Osborne and Duke Hudson, who we've never seen. Sure, they're in chase shoes. But, Malik and Idris are.
Idris have been a team for a while. So.
They've been a team for a while. They're an actual team.
Yeah,
they were thrown together at first, but they worked together, so now they're a team.
But you can also say about Jensen Briggs.
Dijak and Briggs might become a team. You saw Brooks Jensen in the background looking upset and sort
he
of
was so heartbroken by that.
He's got no friends. Everyone went their own way, but they all have something to do, and he doesn't, and that's because he's a loser, and he should get his walking papers. So, yeah.
Well, damn, I like Briggs. Ouch.
I like Briggs. I'm talking about Jensen. Briggs, I said, is going to be one to watch as a breakout star this year.
All right, guys, and we are back. We're going to jump right into the first match of the night. Jeez, 25 minutes in, and we just get to the first. We are going for the
AEW.
It is the what is it? The International
Championship. Yep.
Yeah, whatever. International, Intercontinental, Continental, whatever. Championship. Orange Cassidy, Dante Martin. This match to me just kind of felt like I'm throwing it on the card. Orange Cassidy truly is a workhorse of AEW. Isn't for everybody, but I mean, I've become a big fan of his. He's grown on me even more Uh, I could see him eventually being a world champion in the company. I think he starts to leapfrog a few other people, and we're probably a couple years away from that. But Dante Martin, he's got a long way to go, a lot of potential. Top Flight, for whatever reason, they just never seem to hit stride. They're always injuries always derail Top Flight. But this was a decent match. Thrown together didn't really make a whole lot of sense, but I can't complain for an opener here, guys.
No, this is. I think this was I think this match was pretty good. I mean, I like when he turned it against Orange Cassidy and did the kicks. I think that kind of brought some character to the match. You know, and you never know what you're going to get with Orange Cassidy. I mean, is he a huge star? Like, you know, I mean, like, I mean, he's over, but I mean, did we really need another champion thrown on Orange Cassidy to make him a name?
Right.
I mean, listen, there's obviously a place in wrestling for Orange Cassidy. I'm not a fan. I never will be. He's a workhorse because Tony puts him out there all the time, and he says yes. Well, that's terrific. As far as the match was concerned, it had some interesting spots. I mean, there were this was the most psychology I saw Dante Martin ever use in a match. Orange Cassidy worked with it pretty well. You know, Orange Cassidy has from time to time been sort of teasing heelishness a little bit. So is Trent. I mean, I'm not invested in either of them, but that's a little bit interesting. And when Orange Cassidy kept rolling out of the way so that Dante couldn't use the turnbuckle splash, he moved, he pulled the commander and actually hit an interesting move. So for an Orange Cassidy match, still too long. I wish it was 6 or 7 minutes shorter, but for an Orange Cassidy Dante Martin match was pretty good. The end got a little bloated when everyone came out, and then they meant to play Private Party's music, but instead they hit Top Flight's music for no reason. It should have been Orange Cassidy's, then Private Party. Now, Private Party is another team I'm not interested in, but the tag team division, which the first year and a half of AEW was hot and had the potential to and should have stayed hot forever, for whatever reason, has been ignored by trios and gang warfare and factions and this, that, and the other thing, and injuries and whatever you name it. So at least they're a tag team. At least they're basically an AEW tag team. At least they're not burdened by the Hardys anymore, who really don't cut it. They even called them out a little bit. So while I'm not that interested in Private Party, again, this is going to the roots. Everyone in this match was part of AEW going back to its roots.
Yep. I agree. So beyond that, yeah, we did get Private Party back. I think that's a great thing. The tag teams division does need a bit of a reset. It seems to be kind of lost in a shuffle, even though that was supposed to be, even on the initial phases to AEW, their focus was tag teams. That is literally what AEW was founded upon, and it's completely just shifted and went away. I mean, right now, who is the tag team champions?
So Ricky Starks and Big Bill.
There you go.
Who didn't even have a title match on the pay-per-view, which they were supposed to, and then that match got switched out. I mean, I understand Kenny got diverticulitis, but you could have put Guevara in there, and they did, except they made it an 8-person match with no stakes and no doubt, because Sting doesn't lose pay-per-view matches.
Does not. But I mean, I understand you want to get everyone on the card. You want to give, you want the crowd to see everyone. You want to reward your top guys to get them on the pay-per-view. But yeah, a lot of those matches thrown together, no sense. But neither here nor there. So this was a really interesting segment. So now we're finally going to get the House of Black and FTR on Collision coming up, and I will tell you, I thought this should have been on World's End. I thought this is a pay-per-view worthy match. Yeah. It is absolutely atrocious what they've done to FTR, not including them in any high-profile matches over the last month. Despite being named the #1 tag team by Pro Wrestling Illustrated and ESPN, really bizarre to me how you did not feature them on one of your biggest pay-per-views of the year. And then House of Black, who has 2 fantastic wrestlers in Malachi and Matthews. I don't understand what you're doing. But I'm glad they're finally getting a rub here. I just hope it does not get overshadowed by this first defense with Kingston and Beretta.
And also they do what AEW loves to do. You make it a blood feud, and in the first match, you give it a stipulation. And the stipulation is that you're going to have to walk up to their families and disown them, meaning FTR, if they lose, and join the House of Black. So it's basically, in the first match, if you lose, you become my butler.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this, and I understand it's in North Carolina, but they run the same towns over and over again. They should have had either prior matches and make this the end stipulation until, you know, the heroes win from overcoming. But
Right.
you know, I don't see any way. I don't have any faith in how they book House of Black either. And this seems like a stupid stipulation that wouldn't come from Malachi Black. So,
Right.
you know, so it didn't. It felt very artificial to me. I assume that they're not going to make FTR disown their family in front of the crowd. That seems like more of a WWE type of storyline, or you know, AEW likes to have feel good moments in front of the family. So,
Right.
but you know, maybe they'll swerve us, but it's just too soon. It feels like that Santana Ortiz thing where they were feuding in real life. They had vignettes and promos like for like 11 weeks. Every other week, one of them would talk, and then they finally had one match on Rampage, and then it was over. And then this feels like it may be going in that direction. I hope not.
It does. So our next match, which I actually was thoroughly impressed with, was the debut of Mariah May, which, let me tell you, fantastic wrestler. Not just fantastic women's wrestler, fantastic wrestler. Against Queen Aminata. Did I say that correctly? Is that right? Sure, whatever. Mariah May is a good get for this women's division. This AEW's women's division has sorely lacked. It has been one of the worst women's divisions since their inception, which I believe is completely unnecessary, and it's ridiculous because you are such a huge promotion. Why have you not put any more effort into the women's division? And it makes no sense to me, but here we are. And I'm glad Mariah May is going to breathe some new life into that division, especially now when you have other performers there, such as we're looking at Tony Storm, Thunder Rosa, Hikaru Shida, Julia Hart, Sky Blue, Britt Baker, Jamie Hayter, Red Velvet, Chris Statlander, Ruby Soho, and so on. Just think those are a lot of their big names now, and I think it's become more of a formidable division. And I think even now you have arguably a top 5, top 10 women's wrestler coming aboard in Deonna Purrazzo. And this was her debut in New Jersey, in her hometown. I love it. Purrazzo is perfect for AEW. She should have been there 2 years ago, in my opinion. This is going to be a great start to a rebuild for that division.
Well, we skipped a segment, which was the Tony Storm segment, which was funny and brilliant as always. And
oh yeah,
they're going to do a seance for Steven Sodenheim in Soho, and she did the shoe thing, and you know, and she said that she wasn't going to perform in New Jersey, and they walked away. And the only reason I mention is one, it was a segment on the show that matters, but also Mariah May basically cut the same promo, and if it was because she's her understudy, that would make sense. But I just don't think they coordinate, so she went to the earlier one. Listen, I don't think the match was bad. I just think if you're going to debut someone with their first match, it should have been a squash. Like, she should have beaten someone in 3 minutes and 45 seconds.
Right.
And no disrespect to Queen Aminata, but she's not an AEW. She's not All Elite. She's not even Ring of Honor. She's appearance talent. So it didn't need to be a competitive match. So I didn't like that. And then already, you know, she did the bad guy, I don't like New Jersey thing. So then you get the music for Deonna Purrazzo, who was, you know, rumored to be appearing. I said earlier she's appearing tonight, and she's from New Jersey, and she's like, hey, you're dissing my state. And so the good, you have Mariah May in a feud. The bad is Mariah May is almost certainly going to lose this feud. So you've already decided that who is the less important person. And we all know that Deonna Purrazzo is probably a bigger investment than Mariah May. We all know that Deonna Purrazzo versus Toni Storm is a more interesting match on paper. But the story should be that the understudy at some point turns on and Storm and maybe helps in that. And maybe that still happens, but I didn't like that it wasn't a squash match and that right away Deonna Purrazzo was put into a match with Mariah May hasn't established herself as a wrestler in AEW yet to be in a feud with Deonna Purrazzo. So instead of both of them feeling like stars, neither one of them actually felt like a star with this. They both feel like they're sort of bottom carders.
I was just going to ask you, what does she have over? What does Deonna Purrazzo have over the other one? Because I'm pretty sure if we go back here,
The other one, what? Who's the other one?
What's her name? What's the other girl that debuted tonight?
Mariah May.
Yeah. Her
first match.
I mean, the other girl was pretty much a squash for WWE. She's not like they didn't even use her the right way.
Who are you talking about? I'm so confused right now.
What do you mean, Deonna Purrazzo? She was a squash. I mean, she really didn't do much in WWE. She did NXT.
Right. No, 100%. Deonna was in NXT. She was underutilized. She basically, was a COVID cut, told WWE, screw you, I'm going to go do it on my own. And I saw the potential in her in NXT when we would go to Full Sail. And I loved her then. She went to Impact. I was ecstatic when they picked her up. And she absolutely killed it in Impact over the last 3 years and was one of the top. She actually was voted number one women's wrestler, I think, a couple times over the last 3 years.
Which is a joke.
It's not a joke. Have you ever watched
a joke? They have nobody over there.
What we're talking about, the number one women's wrestler, like Pro Wrestling Illustrated right now.
Yeah, I know. It's a joke. She's not that good.
Okay, so she's not that good. Wonderful.
No,
but
she's not that good.
She is, but
right. I mean,
your opinion is valid for you.
Can you name another person in Impact that that's compared to her?
No, because that's how good she was.
Oh, come on, Dan. You're gonna tell me the whole Impact roster has nobody else as good as her? A girl that came over from NXT.
I mean, you could say Jordan Grace. Jordan Grace is probably their next best or
that's
top.
Their biggest star.
Jordan Deonna Purrazzo was literally one of their biggest stars, and she was going over to AAA, and she was wrestling over there, winning titles as well. So I don't see where you're going with this.
I mean, people used to say that it was the strongest women's division. I never felt that way, but they also for a while they had Tennille Dashwood. Mickey James was there for a while. Kiera Hogan was there.
That's what I'm trying to say. There's way more people than her that are way better in Impact.
But they're in Impact. She's a free agent. But her and Mariah May, which was your original comparison, they're completely different wrestlers. I mean, it's like comparing Timothy Thatcher to Miles Riley that we saw. Like she's a technical ground technical wrestler, and Mariah May is more of your aerial and speed wrestler.
Yeah, she's like a shark.
and she and she preens and prawns around like a Tiffany Stratton type. So they're different styles. They're different types of wrestlers. I think they're both good additions. It's just Tony. Listen, I'm going to give credit because in the last 5 or 6 months, there's been more women's stories that don't involve the two belts. So you've actually had a bunch more women's stories. They still only do with 3 women's matches a week on 5 hours of TV. So, your confidence in the booking gets shaken, and they're just bringing back Serena Deeb for what? They just brought Thunder Rosa back for 1 match. You don't see her again. You won't see Abaddon again for a year. I don't really care about her. I'm not invested. It's just I'm pointing out names recently. But so I'm always concerned about the booking or time, but I'm like Tony Khan. I don't much care about women's wrestling. I'll watch it if it's on, if I'm watching wrestling, but the reason he doesn't invest in it is because people don't. The women's segments are consistently the bottom rated segments almost always. And if they're not the bottom, they're the second bottom, and they lose the most viewers next to the Big Bang Theory lead in turnout. So that's why he doesn't invest in it, because his viewers don't watch it. And by the way, it's not just him. After The Rock, of course, a lot of people turn the channel after The Rock, but Natalia and Tegan Knox, lost like, as I understand it, the entire country of China turned off the TV at the same time. Anyway, but whatever. It was a debut. It wasn't I think the biggest problem for Deonna Purrazzo isn't anything about her. It's that everyone was expecting Mercedes Moné, and instead you got Deonna Purrazzo, and it felt very lateral. What's in it for Deonna Purrazzo? Money. Tony Khan is going to pay her like WWE pays, I don't know, like Carmella or something. She'll get she probably was getting $60,000 a year to now she's probably at $375,000 a year just by signing on the line. So good on you, young lady.
Yeah, absolutely. She is arguably, one of the, I could argue she's their top three, definitely in the top three women's wrestler in AEW right now. She automatically comes in and is legitimate enough that I could see her beating Toni Storm at Revolution.
I've just seen it. I heard it with Kiera Hogan. I heard it with Taya Valkyrie. I heard it with Ruby Soho. I heard it with this one. I heard it with that one. I heard it with Saraya. It's always the same thing. Now the women's division is solidified. You got 30 women in the division. It's not the talent. It's the booking.
Right. No, 100%. 100%. So we're going to move on now, and we're going to go to the next segment of the show, which was Christian Cage.
Are you laughing because you didn't like my line last week when I said I don't know the status of Edge's father, and Christian brought it up?
It was ridiculous, and it was absolutely like bizarre how it just came together like that. I mean,
but you can't sit here and say that he doesn't put a good promo on.
Oh no, he puts a fantastic promo on.
I mean, he's one of the best talkers on the mic.
But I think Dan thought what I said was distasteful, and he's right. But the whole gimmick is distasteful, so it was obvious that he was going to go there.
Yeah, no, 100%, and it was a great promo. I mean, Christian Cage does not care. He is not a PC character. He will go there. He will hit on those points. He goes and says the things that will give you the shock value. That is what his character is. That's what he's great at. He is fantastic on the microphone, and this is what AEW needs, is more promos like a Christian Cage. You don't even need the guy.
I have some breaking news. This is hot off the presses. Alexander Hammerstone will be at TNA's Hard to Kill pay-per-view facing Josh Alexander. I don't know if he's signed to a long term or if it's just this, but Alexander Hammerstone in his first free agent big time appearance that we're aware of is in TNA.
Now that's a fucking star right there. You want to talk about stars? He's a star that they've overlooked.
I still feel we're gonna get Hammerstone and Holiday in AEW, and when MJF does make his return, you're gonna get Hammerstone and Holiday.
And that's gonna be great because those two guys are great too.
Well, yeah, but I believe Blood and Guts.
I tried making friends here. I tried buying friends here. I gave my heart and soul. I got betrayed. But you know what? Adam Cole, you're not the only person with old friends from former factions that you can bring back together. It writes itself.
It does. And then you also have the Acclaim, which is totally right there, ready to join in on this. So I can see this at Blood and Guts. Get ready for it. Mark it down.
Wait, you think the Acclaim's going to do an appearance at TNA, you're saying?
No,
he's saying that the Acclaim will join Dynasty for Blood and Guts. I'm assuming you mean like March of 25 as opposed to 24.
It won't be March. It'll be sometime in the summer.
Okay. Well, maybe everyone will be healthy by then.
Like June, I think, is when they usually do it. June, July.
Well, is Holiday out of MLW right now?
Correct. They are both free agents.
He's back in MLW, but it's not a contract. It's
I was going to say, I just saw Hammerstone wrestle last week's episode.
That was his final match.
Okay.
Yeah. That was his final, but Holiday, I think, is on like a per show kind of deal.
Yeah, he signed to an arc or two.
Yeah. So
I mean, listen, there's about 5 or 6 wrestlers that MLW groomed for AEW.
The only concern I have, and I don't think that, first of all, I don't know what the status of their relationship is interpersonally, but Alicia Toot and Richard Holiday were an item. I mean, they were together. She was with him during his battle against Hodgkin's lymphoma. And now it's like maybe she's engaged to MJF. So, maybe it was a friendly breakup. Maybe nobody cares, but they're, or maybe it's just like, yeah, we're going to do this business. And Holiday's like, I want the money. But sometimes things like that can fray a friendship.
Absolutely. Our next segment, we had Renee Paquette interviewing the Outcast, and let me tell you, Harley Cameron is slowly becoming one of my favorite parts of Dynamite.
Yes,
Week.
She's a star. She's
Absolutely
hysterical. This is my guilty pleasure. Even Soraya and Ruby and Angelo Parker and Matt Mott, however stupid, this is wrestle crap, and this is the wrestle crap I like. And you put Harley in there. She was the best part of QTV. That raps video she did was phenomenal. Chef's kiss. She's great. I don't care if she can wrestle that. This is terrific. And the whole thing with the insinuation that she's like Soraya's love slave. Oh my God.
No, it's what they're doing right now. The insinuations, the innuendos, just it's funny on where it's going, where it could go, and it's going to end up being something stupid and innocent.
I'm from Baltimore, and like we don't have a lot of famous bands, and I'm not even sure if they're famous, but Kicks was sort of like a glam hair band from the late '80s, early '90s,
No.
And they have 2 songs that come to mind when I think about this, and that is "Girl Money" and "Cool Shower."
Yeah. Well, I think Harley Cameron, she was great on QTV. It's a shame that it didn't really go anywhere with her. Harley Cameron is multi-talented. She's kind of the Swiss Army knife that can do it all. I'm very interested to see her addition. We don't really talk much about her, but she will be a huge fixture in the women's division over the next year. You guys have any more thoughts on that?
No,
I don't even follow that faction.
Okay.
One of the high points of the show for me, that and Tony Storm. The women are killing it.
Absolutely. No, let me tell you, the women are actually a reason to turn on AEW.
I think it's so funny you guys think Tony Storm and this whole gimmick is great. I think it's hilarious.
It's literally the best.
Well,
I think
it's hilarious. I guess you think we're hilarious for liking it, but hey,
it's a joke.
It's supposed to be a joke.
No. But I'm saying though, it's first of all, Tony Storm when she came in was better than she is now, and it's like this whole bullshit gimmick she's doing. I just wish she would drop the shit and just become the badass that she was.
She sucked at that. This is great.
No, she did not suck.
This is way better. This is way better.
Listen, dude, she was 2 years in a row. She was in the Mae Young Classic, bro. The same. There's
Mae Young Classic,
dude.
If you're in the Mae Young Classic 2 years in a row, you're doing something wrong.
No, you're not doing something wrong. She was signed after she got the first year. She was signed. She went back and did the Mae Young Classic, dude. She sucks now. She runs away from everything. She fucking gets carried to the ring. I mean, what's
she
that
doesn't run away.
horseshit?
She gets carried by her butler.
All right,
that is a bunch of horseshit, is what it is.
Guys, we're going to take a break really quick, and we'll be right back at you.
But here we go right here. World's End right here. Your devil. People complain because it's anticlimactic. But what's anticlimactic is not the fact that it was Adam Cole, right? Shout out to my man Dice as the asylum, right? He loves this faction. He goes, "Oh, this is great. You got Warlow. You got Roderick Strong. You got Jacob." This is ass to me. If it was the Undisputed Era, I'm like, okay, it's the Undisputed Era. I like Warlow being a part because they had nothing for Warlow. It's a shame they had nothing for Warlow. It sucked they had nothing for Warlow. But for AEW fans to say this storyline sucked, I'm going to stop the car, and hit you with it. Hit and run. No DUI. I'm completely sober when I say this to you. How can I not say there was no storyline built for this? They have built that for months. Random people, not random people. There was a certain group of people. There was Samoa Joe was backstage. There was Roger Strong that was backstage. There was Warlow. There was people that were saying they had a problem with MJF and Jay White and what he had did. So it kept on the same lines. I think it was perfect booking. I think it was awesome storytelling, even though it was horrible how it was unveiled. That's all that was bad. was the unveiling of who the devil was. But overall, that's the new faction right here. Think about it as your name. Them boys, we're going to see what happens next, okay?
He
All
is
right, guys.
locking those opinions down like Fort Knox.
I'm telling you, get it going, get it together. All right. So our next bout here, we have Takeshita against Darby Allin. This didn't do it for me. This didn't do it for me.
This match was fucking amazing. What are you talking about, bro?
Didn't do it for me.
There were so many high spots in this match. Are you crazy?
Let me explain something to you.
Best match of the night.
Well, you are entitled to your own opinion. You know, a lot of people have assholes, you know. So
dude, but if you actually watched Dynamite, bro, this match got over more than Swerve and the other one.
Dude, let me explain. I don't see the Darby Allin appeal. I don't see the hype. I think he's undersized. I think his style of just throwing yourself out there and just hoping for the best, I think it's it's ridiculous, and it's going to be the thing that shortens his career. He's going to have a short career because of the style of wrestling. His style of wrestling is not a I'm going to tell you this. It is not a WWE style of wrestling. It is not a WWE style of wrestling.
No,
he is somebody that would not make it in WWE. And there's no knock against Darby Allin. There is a place for Darby Allin. I am just not the biggest fan of his style.
Then he'd be a star in WWE. What are you talking about?
I don't see it.
Obviously, you don't see it because you think fucking Toni Storm's a star. So we obviously know that.
Toni Storm is a star.
Yeah, she's a star, right? Listen, I'm going to tell you this right now. Darby Allin was a star in MLW. Darby Allin's a star in AEW. This match with Kacheska.
He's a star.
Huh?
He is a star. I'm not denying he's a star. I'm not denying that.
And when you put him with Sting, it made him an even bigger star. I mean, this match, there wasn't a dull moment in this match at all. I mean, the crowd was on their feet the whole time. I can't say the same thing with the Swerve match.
I thought this match was good. I thought there were some really impressive spots. I understand what both of you are saying. And I mean, you're both agreeing that Darby Allin is a star. And Darby Allin, like Orange Cassidy, is not my style of wrestling, but I like Darby Allin more because he does throw his body around, which is the only way him winning makes sense. I agree in the real world that that's going to shorten his career, but so is trying to climb Mount Everest and everything else he does. So, I mean, he has a death wish. He wants to burn out, not fade away, and whatever. But as far as this match, I thought it was a good match, some great spots, but the biggest thing was the surprise that Takeshita won clean against Darby Allin on TV. Darby Allin doesn't lose a whole lot of matches. When he does, and he's been willing to do it, and he's had losing streaks before, but they're few and far between. And Takeshita hasn't had any winning streaks. And for the Callis family faction to be taken seriously, they need to have some singles wins like this one that aren't just Omega with Callis being involved.
Yeah, so but I don't think Takeshita has lost a match in AEW.
He's lost almost every. Yeah, go back. I mean, especially before he was signed, when he was on excursion, he lost almost every match. But and they were good matches. I mean, Takeshita to me wrestles exactly the same as Hangman Adam Page, and that's not an insult. They're both very good wrestlers. In the rings, they're great. Takeshita has a manager; he needs one. Adam Page probably anyway. It doesn't matter. But surprised that Darby Allin took a loss. That's great. I'm not really invested in Takeshita and Hobbs, while what the other guy's standing there looking doofy, challenging Darby and Sting, because Sting never loses. And, I mean, unless they're going to do something dastardly. But I don't know. This was just shoehorned in because, like you said, it was a Legends thing. Omega got sick. He's going to probably be out for a while. And the only other person that's really of legend status that was free is Sting. So there you go, I guess.
Yep. I hear you. And like I said, I'm not against Darby Allin. He's just not my cup of tea when it comes.
Why do you hate Darby Allin?
Not my cup of tea.
Why are you trying to kill him? So mean.
Oh, Darby freaking Allin.
Hold on, I need to swat Darby Allin right now. Marjorie Taylor Greene taught me about that.
Get him on. Let's get him.
Giddy up.
Eek. So yeah, we're gonna get this. I guess we are getting a tag team match next week. Takeshita and Powerhouse Hobbs against Sting and Allen, or
I'm gonna definitely say maybe.
okay, all right. Well, we're getting something. I took it as maybe it was going to be a singles match with
No,
Sting.
it's a tag team match. I'm not clear if it's on Collision or Dynamite.
Yeah. So next we have Eddie Kingston coming out. He's doing his announcing for the number one contender for his new title. Then we
Continental
had
Crown, which is 3 separate titles still walking around, but they only say Continental Crown, so they are keeping the confusion going on. But how the hell did these 4 guys get into a match for a contendership?
This was the most mismatched match I've seen. These 4 guys are now in the cahoots for the title. How did that happen?
I mean, were they like the last, like 4 of the last ones that didn't win the Battle Royal for the TNT belt? Is that's an entirely different title? I'm not even sure it's true. But I mean, this was the most AEW Tony Khan booking, bad Dynamite. And this is one of the things I really hated this. The match I thought was bad, but like not a single one of these guys had any business being in a contendership match.
which title will he lose first?
I am really hoping that they're a package deal that you can't lose one. I mean, I could see if New Japan says we want our title back, then that's the one there he's going to lose first. He's either going to lose them all or lose the New Japan one if New Japan wants their title back.
No, I definitely think it's going to be separate. And I could see Ring of Honor eventually being the one because they got to figure out something.
Well, they're all eventually going to be severed, but it doesn't make him walking around with 3 belts. I mean, they need to clarify this thing, and now they're calling it the Continental Crown. They're not even calling it the Triple Crown anymore. So I just don't know. And anyway, the match.
But yes, this. What is this, an eliminator? I don't even. Is it kind of a gauntlet? I don't know. How do you explain this?
It was a 4-way match. It was whoever pinned won.
Yeah. So, Trent Beretta wins.
I mean, he was the only smart one to make the win. Who else?
I mean, Brian Cage made a lot of sense too.
Yeah, but what have they done with Brian Cage in the last 2 years? Like, I mean, okay, they put a TNT title on him, but I mean, they're not using him the right way.
Now, the only one that made sense, and I can't stand this little cartoon character, but it's El Hijo del Vikingo, who, as I understand it, is still the AAA Mega Mania champion or Mega Championship. So the Triple Crown could become a Quattro Championship.
That would be fun. That'd be
the only thing that would make sense. But yeah, I mean, all of these guys are basically pin eaters except for Kengo. So, I mean, again, it's like not trying. I mean, this would have made sense. This would be someplace where you put Adam Page. Maybe you put Hobbs in it. And then, 2 other people with a story. Ortiz, because him and Kingston have had, and Ortiz and Santana. That makes your foursome. I don't know. Whatever. I would have liked to see more marquee people. I mean, you went through a tournament to make this thing very important. Opinions may vary, but it is what it is. It's a Triple Crown. It's supposed to be important, and you want to make it feel important right from the gate. And this all of a sudden made it feel unimportant. And Trent Beretta, as the perennial contender, makes it feel less important. At least if you had the AAA title involved, that would at least be a story.
Well, we know Kingston isn't going to lose his first defense, but we know it'll at least be a decent match for his first defense. And I think that's what they did with Beretta there. So now we're trending towards the main event here. Trent, we have an angry Adam Page interrupts Renee Paquette in her interview, and basically is just calling out Adam Cole and the Kingdom at this point. And so now all hell's breaking loose. Everyone's after the Kingdom because of all their antics backstage, and Adam Page wants blood. So this leads us right into our main event. We are going to take one final break here, and we will be back right with you shortly.
His name is Zoolander. Derek Zoolander. International male supermodel. But behind those eyes is a highly trained man of action.
You rock. Now you rock.
And perhaps the world's only hope of stopping a sinister assassination plot. Zoolander.
You see, this is a moral test of oneself.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
Get down, get down. You got a corpse in a car, minus a head in a garage. Take me to it.
Don't you hate that?
Hey, what?
Uncomfortable silences.
Pulp Fiction.
You know, we missed something entirely, or we forgot, was when Jay White came out after the Kingdom of this few thing, where Jay White said, Adam Cole, I'm glad you're back and you're evil. I just don't really appreciate that you took me out as collateral damage, but I'm not alone right now. So him and the Guns came out and they had a little Donnybrook. This is where Wardlow was bodyguard, but then, even up the odds, and as AEW always does, the Acclaim came in, so you have more faces. You have faces outnumbering the heels to get there. But but that's interesting because the Bullet Club Gold, they're down Juice Robinson, and so they're sort of adverse to the Adam Cole started to make some enemies too, including they're not necessarily on the same side, but they're the enemy of my enemy, I suppose. But now we can jump back into the present.
So this match actually I really enjoyed. I am a huge fan of Swerve and Daniel Garcia. Daniel Garcia is so underrated, in my opinion. This was a great spot for him to main event and show his talents and showcase what he can do, because I truly do believe he is a future star of this company. And then you have a budding current star right now. You have a star in Swerve Strickland, which I believe is on the cusp of superstar status. This match delivered. It hit on pretty much every aspect that you could ask for in a main event, in a solid match. Prince Nana, Daniel Garcia, they had a funny little segment there with their dance off, but ultimately Swerve is not going to lose. Swerve is now calling out Samoa Joe. He wants the belt. He's going to get that belt at some point. And here we go. We have Adam Page coming out, and we're going to get a match 3 going on here at some point. Chapter 3 is coming to this feud and this story. Adam Page and Swerve has shown they can go. It's a bloody, crazy, hated feud between the two of them. It's bad blood. We're going to get a great match, number 3 here. Don't know that it's necessary, but Adam Page has got to win one at some point.
Hated this. I hated this going back to World's End. I hated that they inserted Dustin instead of Keith Lee. That's cheap. Nobody wants that. Nobody needs to see it. I hated that it was a competitive match. You have a 5-hour pay-per-view plus 0 hour. You could give Swerve, who's supposed to be one of your top guys now, give him a squash. And I hated this. First of all, I'm not a Daniel Garcia fan, but regardless, his story is that he's struggling now to find his way in the world. Swerve's story is that he's supposed to be challenging for the world title or going that direction. So he has an 18-minute match where he barely gets by Daniel Garcia. And then he's challenged by Adam Page, who he already beat twice, even after doing a home invasion and threatening his baby, still won 2 matches. And as you said, now Adam Page has to win one. Well, it's still going to be 2-1 in a trilogy, and Adam Page has to win one. So what does that do to Swerve challenging for the title? Now, in wrestling, it doesn't really matter. You put people where you want to put them. Right. But from perception, you've heated up this guy, and now you've cooled him down once because of Keith Lee, being sick or whatever his issue is, injured. And now an unnecessary match with Daniel Garcia, who, by the way, has way too many main events for a guy who's an opening card, low card kind of guy, a role player, a safe worker, but not a star. The dance is the fun, is the best part of it. Okay, so you have two quasi heels, and their best thing is dancing, which are face things. So yay. But everyone's saying Swerve's going to be a rocket to the moon to be the next world champion. If he beats Hangman Page and it's 3-0, I'll believe you then. But if you're right and Hangman gets a win, well, then talk about the rocket running out of rocket fuel.
I mean, I think that Swerve should have, instead of Joe, I think Swerve should have been the champion.
You want to elaborate more?
Well, I mean, going back to what I said earlier about, they just pick random people to be the champion. I mean, how about picking people that actually are making a difference in the company and winning so many matches? And that is Swerve. I mean, Samoa Joe's old news. Swerve is, like you said, he's on his way to superstardom. I mean, that would have been a great move for them to make. They should have had Swerve versus MJF, and he could have beat MJF.
Well, don't forget we're still gonna get Swerve and Keith Lee at some point, maybe.
Yeah, but what's that gonna do for you? What is that? I mean, they make these matches like what is that gonna do? Like, I mean, they make it seem like Keith Lee is this like big ultimate star. Like, and you know what? Back then when we were going to NXT, I told you this guy is not a fucking star. He is a let's go to the main roster, let's shit on him and give him bullshit matches, and then we'll release him from his contract.
Hey man, come on! I'm not gonna let you talk about the Bearcat that way.
He's doing nothing, man.
And by the way, did you notice how both Hangman Page and Swerve had interactions with Matt Maynard? So we're gonna get freaking former 2.0 JAS involved in this whole thing, which is completely unnecessary. If it's a blood feud, let it be a blood feud. I don't want to see the Embassy Mogul. I don't need to see the Elite, and I sure as hell don't need Jericho's former crew being in there. But that's Jericho saying, "Put my former crew in something important." And hey, they can take the pins and protect both Page and Swerve. And you see Tony go, "Yeah, I'm really excited about that. That's one of the great things I'm excited about. One of the really positive, exciting things going on and happening with AEW."
You're right. You're right. Well, that concludes Dynamite. We're gonna go and we're going to give some last minute final thoughts here, guys. I'm gonna kick this over to Let Me Be Frank over here. I always look forward to this segment. Give me some Let Me Be Frank, Vince.
You want me to wrap up the Dynamite?
I want you in about 30 to 60 seconds. Give me Vince's Let Me Be Frank take on.
I mean, let's just be frank. I mean, Dynamite wasn't a bad episode. It wasn't as good as last week's episode in Orlando. I do feel like there were a lot better matches last week. I honestly would give this a B+. I don't think. I think we got 2 or 3 solid matches, and we got some good promos. It wasn't as horrible as everybody says it is, so a B+.
B+. Evil Dose.
I mean, I said what I said. I think that when they were strong, they had some strong stuff. They had some stuff that was entertaining, and in between, there was some stuff I didn't care about. I'm not really a match guy, so the fact that the matches were good. I don't think that it's good when Mariah May has to take 9 minutes to beat enhancement talent in the debut. I don't think it's good when your superstar has to take 18 minutes to beat Daniel Garcia. So I don't care about the match quality because that's not what the story should be. It's the Hulk shouldn't have a long time beating me up in a comic book just so that the fight looks better. That's a bad fight. So anyway. I would give it a C, but it really, in my mind, was a tale of two shows. Where it was good, the worst was B+, probably like 20 Storm and that stuff. But where it was bad, I mean, I see some more Tony Khan like overbooking things and booking himself into more problems when he had a reset and started off. I mean, I can't tell. Started off so well with this show.
Yeah.
So well.
Yep.
It
felt fresh. It felt fresh, and I felt like we had a little bit of the same, but then I feel like we kind of went back to the fresh, and then a little more of the same, and then back to fresh, and then a little more of the same. it just kind of was a seesaw back and forth,
Exactly.
on the teeter totter here. But I'm going to give it a B. I'm going to give it a B. Could have been an A if you just had less of the same. But I definitely could see some of the C moments in there too. So not a bad show. I'm looking forward to Jacksonville. They usually seem to really put more of an effort into Jacksonville. I think it'll be good. I think it'll be a good show next week. But I know Jeff did mention here, did we enjoy the scrum? Tony Khan really needs to take a step back from doing these scrums. And sometimes less is more. And I think that's the best advice that my irrelevant opinion could be.
Yeah. Doing the Sophia Loren after party after the Oscars bit was not a good look when he's being asked about possible sexual harassment. He also doesn't answer questions. It's really useless. And the questions are dumb. Real questions he doesn't answer. He barely gets any. And like people, like 3/4 of it is kayfabe and 1/4 of it isn't. And it's just evasive. And it's just a weird dynamic. And he gets himself into more unnecessary problems with these scrums and with his wrestlers like Chris Jericho doing whatever they want to say on social media and like walking into traps for the entire world to see that are now, they're not just discoverable pieces of evidence, they're exhibits now. It's testimony.
Yeah.
It's just so you got to get a rein on your house there, man. I know everyone was making fun of Brian when he was supposedly fining everyone. Haven't heard anything about that in a while. Maybe if that was real, maybe they should make that more real.
Absolutely. All right, guys, that concludes our show. We thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being supportive and fans. We love you. We love each and every one of you. Great show, guys. And we will see you here for next week for Dynamite. Same time, same place right after. And for those of you that are interested, check out our Collision show on Saturdays right after Collision. Until then,
all of you out there, subscribe on YouTube. Take your family and friends' phones away from them and subscribe for them on YouTube. We want to get to 3,000 subscribers by the end of the year. And you can also listen to my show with Big Daddy Cool Steve Pena and Bad Guy Jack Ron, Hammerlock Hangover. And where all fine podcasts are found. It's right down there below somewhere in a graphic. And my non-wrestling podcast is Garden of Doom and Garden of Views. If you like esoteric mythology, cryptids, paranormal, UFOs, history, alternative history, things that go boom and bump in the night, then Garden of Doom is for you.
There you go. All right, guys, we will see you next week. Take care.
Stay with my friends.
I'm done here.